But getting into topic number one on the show, I put out a video yesterday or 2 days ago, that is, talking about the one thing that people hark on us more about than I think anything else, minus the fact that we call the game soccer, right? That's number one. That every single time that is going to be the chief complaint when it comes to what we talk about in regards to the sport. It's like, well, it's not called soccer, it's called football. Okay. Outside of that, the next point typically that they bring up is promotion and relegation and how necessary it is or not necessary it is to have here in the United States, because they have promotion and relegation pretty much everywhere else around the world. And I had brought up a couple of reasons as to why not and why for. And I tend to lean towards the latter. I tend to believe that promotion and relegation, if implemented correctly in the United States, could be something that gets this country to that next level in terms of our development, in terms of our competitiveness, in terms of how entertaining this game is. But there's a theory out there. It's called Occam's razor theory. It actually works directly against our whole conspiracy episode that we're planning here, because it essentially what it says is the least assuming theory is oftentimes the correct one. And if we're theorizing about how to get the United States to that next level in terms of competitiveness in soccer/football, oftentimes the least assuming theory is the correct one. And Jace, our good friend on TikTok, made a video in response to what I said yesterday. And he had a really simple, yet powerful and direct statement as it pertained to pro rel. He doesn't believe that it is necessary in the United States. And he goes, the reason why we are not as competitive as we would like to be on the men's side at the international, it's a very simple and direct reason. Our best athletes are not playing soccer/footy from when they are starting sports all the way up to when they are professionally mature and into their prime. It's just not happening, because many of us, our heroes growing up, were not soccer players. Like, I loved Clint Dempsey and Landon Donovan, and playing FIFA, I always played as the U.S. men's national team, and I would always watch them. But that
That's
doesn't mean that they
crazy.
were necessarily my heroes. Like, they weren't my heroes growing up. It is crazy, but again, I'm an American and they're Americans, right? And they were my only options, right? So, and I didn't really understand the Premier League or the Champions League. I wasn't surrounded by that growing up. And yes, if I were to take, here's the thing, if I were to take LeBron James and plop his ass in a top soccer league in the world right now, he would get exposed. If I were to take any of those guys from football, basketball, if I were to plop them in there, they probably wouldn't do all too well, right? Because their whole life, they have been training their body to play the sport that they play. Can't hold it against Kareem Hunt that he wouldn't really be the best soccer player in the world, because that's not what he trained for his whole life. You can't hold it against someone like an Anthony Edwards who plays basketball, because that's what he's trained for his whole life. He didn't train to play soccer. But if we had a country in which those young kids decided they wanted to dedicate themselves to this game from their youth all the way to being professionally mature, we would be more competitive on the world scale, with or without pro rel. And so to that point, Jace, I completely agree. And I'll just put that out there right away. And this is why I say it's not the solution, Ryan. It is a solution, though, in my mind. So reasons against. First of all, obviously, logistics. We live in a continent. It's just called the United States, right? It is a country, but compared to Europe, I mean, Texas is damn near the size of the UK, right? So logistics would be, in a lot of ways, a nightmare, specifically for clubs who already can't really afford to do certain things, let alone get relegated, right? No other pro sports leagues in the United States do this. The MLB doesn't do this. NBA doesn't do this. The NFL doesn't do this. And so to just assume that that's the reason why they're failing, I don't know if that's really correct, but they're just fine. Also, good luck convincing those owners, like the MLS owners we talked about, that, hey, you're going to get relegated. You're going to lose money. In the United States, when it comes to closed league structures, that's just not what happens. I understand the USL is trying it out, but outside of that, good luck convincing those owners. But like Jay said, is it truly necessary? Here's what I'll say for reasons for, and I'll let you get your words in here too, because I know you have opinions on this, being that you played once upon a time. So, I'm sure you probably understand it a little bit better. But the reasons for, I'll say, are this. You can actually force club owners to do their jobs. when you are fighting against relegation or fighting for promotion, it puts the priority on those owners and those people in those positions, club owners specifically, to develop correctly, to maintain a level of success, to focus on getting the right people and the right minds in the building. The battle for either promotion or relegation, like I said, in the European game, not only the more authentic experience for fans and for media, but again, it also puts the pressure on. You can't, what is one of the biggest issues we have in American sports? Tanking. Tanking. In a lot of these professional leagues, teams that are not even in the conversation don't even feel the need to play their guys. And you can be terrible for years and years, even decades. Look at the Detroit Lions. How bad were they for so long? Were they any less financially lucrative because of it? Hell no. People would buy jerseys, they would go to the games, they would always show up, and so there was never any risk of the Lions going anywhere. It's not like they wouldn't be in the NFL. Viewership, fans, all those things support you staying right where you are, no matter how bad or good you are. Also, if there's no incentive or punishment or, crime for being bad, then what else for these clubs outside of just being a moneymaker? What's the point of actually being good at what you do? Who cares what your record is? Who cares what you throw out there? Who cares what kid you get to wear your uniform? As long as you're making your money, you're making your money. And so to that perspective, it feels like in a lot of ways, it doesn't add that extra bit of pressure to the people who are competing in these leagues, who want to start a club, who want to be involved in the game. And because of that, it's created complacency in USA soccer. I'm not saying it's the number one solution or that it's going to change everything, but complacency is worse than death, in my personal opinion. Because at that point, what's the point of what you're doing? I think Pro Rel would add that extra layer of pressure to everything that we do. So that's why I like the fact that the USL is trying it and that they're giving it a try and that they're trying to create more of an authentic experience that I think will raise the level of play slowly, but surely over time. I think it will raise the level of play. But there's a lot of questions around this, and not to say everybody has to have Pro Rel, Ryan, but I think there's a lot of good reasons for it.